objective of our project is to track and analyze the correlation between business growth in the city of Boston and fluctuations in the real estate market.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are standing up on the Independence Wharf roof deck in the beautiful financial district of Boston. And behind me right here is Boston's hot, ever-growing Seaport district. Over here in Fort Point, all these former mill buildings are now offices. Business growth is at the core of a city, which is why it's so relevant that the office properties are right at the center of the seaport, and all these people just walk out of their houses and walk to work. You probably see that ugly garage over there, a really ugly concrete garage. That garage in a few years from now may not look like it now, but it's going to be a mix of residential and commercial development. Point is, you see a lot of mixed-use development coming to the city. However, what we believe is going to be most indicative of the strength of the business environment and of the money moves people are making, as Cardi B would say, is the office sector. Residential is going to be a lot more stable in a recession, particularly in a city like Boston, where there are so many universities and so many students coming from all over the world to study here. The residential market is going to be a lot less adversely affected by a bad business environment than the office market. Right behind me is One International Place, one of the most renowned office buildings in New England. That building right now is full of companies. Everything from startups to established corporations are taking up offices in that tower and many others like it in the city. However, in a recession, you're going to see a lot less startups, because who's going to start a company in a bad business environment? And also, you're going to see larger corporations downsizing, to pay less rent. With the lower demand, with fixed supply, you're going to, of course, see prices start to go down for renting office space. And another reason, by the way, why we chose offices instead of residential is because companies tend to rent space, whereas people aim to buy space to live in. But that's just so indicative of the strong real estate environment that's emerged since the recession, which is why the data we're going to be looking at in the span of years is going to give us, we think, a very interesting data to look at that we believe is going to be closely correlated between the real estate market strength and the strength of the business environment. So right in front of me is this very intricately detailed model of the city of Boston, which is really well done. You can see it, the Prudential right here, one of our landmarks, so intricate. 111 Huntington, another office building, also intricate. You got the townhomes of the south end, the hotels of Huntington Avenue, Christian Science Plaza right here. Point is, our city is full of many different types of real estate that come together to form our business environment. Business growth is so tied to the real estate market and the other way around, because people need places to live, work, and play, as you can see right here. We believe that there is a clear cause and effect pattern or correlation between real estate data and business growth data. Real estate growth, we believe, will be directly correlated and tied to growth in business. Likewise, when business activity declines, we believe that the real estate market will take a dip accordingly. We chose employment data as the #1 indicator of the strength of the business sector in Boston. At any given time, employment, namely the number of people employed, will tell you how many people have jobs. This is the #1 statistic that we are going to correlate to the real estate market. We're also going to look at unemployment, because during a recession, you're going to see a dip in employment, and accordingly that's going to reflect in the unemployment rate. However, unemployment rate doesn't take into account people such as discouraged workers, and therefore we believe that employment is a better statistic than unemployment, because unemployment is leaving out that huge core of people who are going to be discouraged to find jobs simply because the market is so bad. But anyway, one of the statistics we chose to look at is price per square foot for rental, because that would be so intimately tied to the fact that space is less in demand in a bad business environment, and accordingly prices go down. And accordingly, we're going to correlate that with the employment and unemployment statistics previously discussed. Likewise, we also chose vacancy of office properties because, of course, with less demand and with people downsizing, you're going to see more vacancy. So accordingly, we're going to look at price per square foot for rental and vacancy of office properties in the city of Boston. And our data is going to span from 2011 to 2017, which is such a great span because it gives us some interesting things to look at. 2011 was the tail end of the recession. There was still a lot of vacancy, still not such a great business environment. Real estate market was still in a downturn. However, from 2011 to 2017, things have gone up to the point where you see a lot of development happening. So what this graph here shows is that employment and vacancy are very closely related. When employment goes up, vacancy goes down. That's because there's more jobs. And with more jobs, people take more space, and accordingly, vacancy goes down. Likewise, with less jobs, people need less space, and accordingly, vacancy goes up. You see a similar trend with price per square foot and vacancy. When there's less demand for real estate, more of it's available, and likewise, it's cheaper. The price per square foot's higher. Accordingly, with more demand, you see a higher price per square foot and a lower vacancy. And that demand is driven by employment and business growth. With more business growth, demand's higher, and vice versa. Accordingly, as this graph here shows, when the price per square foot, go up, that's directly correlated to employment and business growth going up. Likewise, when prices are lower, there's less employment. Business growth is less healthy. There's a lot less business activity coming to the market and going on in the market. And likewise, prices are lower because landlords just want to fill their buildings up in order to have less vacancy and keep at least some money coming in.
There is a significant correlation between employment and vacancy. Since the adjusted R-squared is high, it is around 0.99, and the F value is low. It is at 0.0001. As for vacancy rate and unemployment rate, there is a correlation between them as well. Again, the adjusted R-squared is significantly high, around 0.94, and the F value is significantly low. It is at 0.007.
So here you can see the regression model, which we ultimately went with. It has a very strong adjusted R-squared value of 0.995, basically 100%, very strong value. Nice low significance F value. The p-values are a little bit high. However, ultimately, we decided to go with this model because of its strong adjusted R-squared value and the fact that with that R-squared value, it includes all four of the variables we were testing. So this is a very accurate model that accounts for everything. However, there is a slight discrepancy with the p-value. We tried removing some of the values based off their p-values and trying to see if the p-value situation got a little bit better. However, that also adversely impacted our adjusted R-squared. Accordingly, we chose to go with this model because it takes into account all four of our variables that we want to take a look at, and it's very highly accurate.
So what is weighted moving average? Weighted moving average is using historical data in conjunction with a multiplier in order to predict the next quarter's or next year's business growth based on occupancy, vacancy, or price per square foot. We choose the weighted moving average over other models because weighted moving average is more accurate measure of recent price action, information that is more useful for many traders than a simple moving average. As a business owner or startup, what does this prediction help us to do, or what decision does it help us to make? A short-term moving average crossing over a long-term moving average may indicate a new price change or a change in direction. Many traders use this crossover as a buy or sell signal. Weighted moving average allows us to place more weight on the most recent values, which are more relevant to decision makers, while giving a sense of the overall trend and allowing decision makers to make the right move at the right time.
So right now we are standing in Fort Point, formerly an industrial neighborhood known as the Wool District, because these were all the warehouses you see behind me were all wool warehouses. Eventually they got converted into art studios, and today you got multi-million-dollar condos and new construction, such as this beautiful building behind me, with price tags starting well up below $1 million for a one-bedroom. Point is, a lot of millennials can't afford that, not just in 20s, but even in their 30s. Living at home is at a record high right now. And this, while it may seem like a possible limitation to our claim that Boston's housing market is relatively stable, the fact is, people are still sending their children to college. And this is why the Boston housing market is so strong. Even during the recession, things stayed relatively stable here. The Boston housing market took a very minimal dip, simply because of all the universities, Harvard, MIT, Suffolk, Northeastern, BU. People are still coming to study, and the housing is still in demand. And the housing prices went down a bit also. They didn't go down too much, but they still went down a little bit, making housing a little bit more affordable. But the point is, the office market is what's going to take a bigger hit from decline in business growth than residential, because residential is always going to be in demand. What we have done with our model is we've given real estate decision makers a clear indicator of when to charge more or less for rents with office properties, and when people can accordingly better or leverage real estate cycles. We've drawn a clear correlation between employment in a city and the price of real estate. In our case, we've clearly linked it to the office market. We've correlated vacancy rates and prices per square foot to employment, and we found that with higher employment, there's a higher price per square foot and a lower vacancy. So accordingly, this is a clear correlation that a real estate decision maker can use to decide when is an appropriate time to charge more rent and ensure that vacancy is going to be near zero. And likewise, when there's a dip in employment, the decision maker can see that you may need to offer an incentive or lower the rent to keep your building occupied and keep a steady stream of money. And likewise, as employment goes back up, you can start to charge more in order to keep that vacancy rate low, because the real estate is so much in demand based on the employment. So the point is, our model is a clear informant towards real estate decision makers on how to decide how much to charge for real estate, because with more employment, there's more demand for real estate, which in turn leads to higher prices. When investing in real estate, you need to know when to invest and divest, when to pick up more real estate, when to sell off the real estate you have already gained and already accumulated for maximum profit. And that's based off of market cycles. In a hot market, you may want to sell things off, or you may want to buy more because you anticipate further growth. In a down market, it's a great time to buy real estate if you have the capital, so you can hold it and profit as the market improves. With our model, we've placed a clear correlation for this data based off employment and unemployment in the office market. We've shown the strength of the real estate market based off of business growth using employment and unemployment, and we've shown that with as business growth is strong, the real estate prices are higher, and with less business growth, prices are lower.